Hey everyone, it's Robin here, part of the XRY Youth UK Talks and Training Circle, and this is just a little video tutorial on how to use Zoom to run meetings. So this isn't going to be how to install Zoom and get on meetings. This is going to be how you schedule a meeting, how you go into the Zoom settings and make sure that the right settings are ticked and all those kind of things. So we'll just go through a few of the key bits, and hopefully it will make sense. So here we go. So I'll make myself nice and small. So this is the basis of Zoom. This is kind of your login platform. So very simply, if you're here and you want to make a new meeting, you just click new meeting. This is if you're like ready and you want to talk to someone. Otherwise, we'll click that one. Otherwise, we hit schedule, ding. So that's a bit confusing. It's not new meeting, just gets you into meetings. Schedule sets you on. So for example, I could set a meeting here, which would be Zoom tutoring session, and we can set our date when we want it to be, say Tuesday. Set our time, say it's 3 o'clock, how long we want it, all of these different things. Just a quick one, the duration, it's just so that that's how long it is in your schedule. It doesn't mean that after an hour it will kick you off, but it's good to set it so people know how long you are. One of the good things here is to make sure whether or not you want a password. This is one of the key settings. So if we don't want a password, we get rid of it. If we do, they give you an auto-generated one, but you can also write like Robin. So anyone who wants to join in has to write my name. That's a bit facetious. Anyway, and then a few other settings. So this one is video. So at the moment we got it set so when the host logs in, so for example, if I was hosting it, my video would be on. But when other people log in, automatically their video would be off and they would need to turn it on. This is quite a good default setting because it lets people know who the host is, and they can always turn their video on anyway. It's very easy. In terms of audio, normally we just leave it with telephone and commuter audio. What that means is that if people need to, they can call in using their telephone line, but very few people do, so that's fine. Calendar, leave it as this. Google Calendar is normally a bit better for people than Outlook these days. And then advanced options, there's a few things in here which you can do if you want to. So you can enable a waiting room, and what that means is that when people join the meeting, you have to then let them in as the host rather than them automatically coming in. This is good sometimes if you've got a very big meeting and you're not sure who's coming and you want to see people come in, but it's kind of annoying because you have to watch it. We don't ever really want to tick this one, which is enable join before host, because it just means someone else can start the meeting whenever they want. So we make sure that one is unticked. Mute participants and entry, again, just depends what you're doing. If you're going to have 100 people joining, you might want to click this one just to make sure people it doesn't get too loud and crazy straight away. Don't need to click this one. This means anyone who's signed up to Zoom. Otherwise, people can join just by using the Zoom portal. So it's good to not have this one ticked. Automatically record meetings. We don't want to tick this one, especially because as XR Youth, we work with people under 18 and we have to get a special permission if we want to record those. Okay, so then all we do is we hit schedule. And then the meeting schedules, it pops up here. And if you want to, feel free. For example, this is my own Google Calendar. I can just hit it in there, press allow, and then it's ready and it's in the Google Calendar. So I just hit save, and then there it is on the day. I think we have to go to next week, so I schedule it for next week. Bang, there it is. And what it comes with is the link for the meeting. So that's one way that we can find the link. So we can take this, we can, copy it, and then I can share that around so other people can join the meeting. Otherwise, we go back to the app. We go into here in the meetings tab at the top. We go down, we find our meeting, so Zoom tutoring session, and we say copy invitation. This copies a very long invitation, but it also includes lots of things. So that's the easiest way to go bang, and then we can paste it other places. This is this is what the meeting invitation will look like. Alternatively, if we're just asking people to join online, we can just copy this link in here. That's the link that's the hyperlink people will need. The rest of this is all for people who want to phone in to the meeting, which most people don't do. Okay, so hopefully that's part one. That's how we start a meeting. And now we're going to switch over and look at how some of the settings that we can do in the background. And then I'll finish it by explaining some of the settings during a call. Okay, so ding, there we are. So now we're on the Zoom profile page. So this is the XR Youth International Solidarity account. This is a pro account, so we've got a few more settings to play with here. If you're just on your own personal account, there's a few things you won't have, but this is what we will be using for lots of sessions. So you can do things like set your profile picture. super useful to allow people to especially know who the host is. You don't really need to change anything on here on the profile side. The main tab we want to look at is the settings tab, which is just over here. I'm actually just going to turn it on so my, oh no, I can't do that. Anyway, doesn't matter. So we look at the settings tab, which is over here. Okay, and then there's a bunch of settings in here. So loads of these are just on automatically. But if we go down, especially to in-meeting advanced, one of the sessions that we want to turn on that I'll explain a bit about in a bit is breakout room. So we want to make sure that breakout room is turned on. And I'll explain how that works when we go into the session. Report. Other things that we want, most of these don't need to be on. We don't really want to have far end camera control because it allows people to do weird stuff with our things. Some of these are useful if you're, for example, in like a business meeting and you've got like a team and you're organizing things. But for the sessions we're running, we don't really need them. The main thing we need is the breakout rooms. Virtual background is quite fun. It allows people to do things in the background. I'll show you what that means. But again, we don't necessarily need it. And lots of these we can leave off. And again, here we go. We've got the waiting room, which we turn on because sometimes it's useful. Perfect. Let's just check in basic if there's any here that we need. So private, both the chat ones are on by default. Super useful for people to be able to talk. We quite like playing a sound when someone joins, but you can click it to be heard by the host only. So for example, I save that, especially if you've got lots of people joining a meeting. Otherwise, it goes bing every time, and that can be confusing for people. We've got file transfer on, so people can send documents to each other in the file if they need to. Other thing is we have polling on. We don't often use it, but it can be useful. And what will happen is you just make a little poll, and it will pop up on everyone's screen, and they fill it in there and then. So if at the end of the session you're looking for feedback, or you've got, you know, for example, a pub quiz, you could set up a bunch of polls that you want, and then you pop each of the polls up. People have to answer, and you get to know who's won or who's lost. So that's cool. Co-host is a useful thing because it to turn on, it allows you to do stuff. But yeah, so there's lots of settings here. People scroll through them. Some of the fun ones are like annotation and the whiteboard. I'll show you what those mean again when I open a Zoom meeting in a minute. I'll just control the shared content. We don't really need these on. But yeah, so if you're setting up your own one, this maybe is a helpful way of just looking through at the ones that we've got ticked and ticking all of the kind of the same useful ones that we feel like are best for running meetings. Okay, so that's that in terms of in here. There are lots of other things you can do, but for now, that's probably all we need to do. So I'm going to make myself big again. So hopefully, those first two bits. One was making a meeting and checking all the settings are right. The second one was going into the back office, logging in and playing with the settings. And now we're going to go straight into the third one, which is going to be in a meeting. What does it actually look like, and how do we move these settings around and make sure we're getting the best stuff done? So we're going to go over there now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we are. I'm just going to close down. It's a bit difficult because I'm both recording my Zoom camera won't work at the moment for this because I'm recording this video. So we're in the meeting here. This is what we'll look like. Normally you'll have your face big in the background here. Woohoo! But what we need to do is we need to click Manage Participants. So for example, I'm going to invite Alejandra to help me demonstrate stuff here. So I go onto here, down the bottom here, I click Invite, and then I've got Copy URL. So we take the URL, I tab out, send it however I want to send it to Ali. There we go, she's got it. Hopefully she'll jump in a second. And then I'll be able to explain a few of the key things that we want to do. So if you're a host, one of the things to watch and two things to have open to begin with is you open the Manage Participants tab, really good one, and we open the Chat tab. So if we've got a waiting room set up, don't think I do for this, but I could just for the demonstration. There we go, so the waiting room's on. So if Ali joins, which she seems to be taking ages to do. Ali? Okay, Ali's computer is really slow. She's just in the other room. So. Okay, so while that happens, we can open the chat here as well. Okay, so Ali's joined. I hope you guys heard that little ding. You might not have, but if you did, that's cool. And what it say here is we've got one person waiting. So this is Ali, so I can just press allow them in. Need to get rid of this thing that's for my speakers. Oh, he's back. Anyway, we've allowed Ali in, and so we've got our participants up here. And when you've got lots of people, this is a useful way of keeping track of everyone. Okay, there's Ali for waving. Sorry you can't see me, it's because I'm using my thing. But now this gives us an option. Now we're in the call, so I'm going to demonstrate some of the key things you'll need to do as part of this. So for example, here's Ali. If Ali's got something, has accidentally left her video on, is doing something embarrassing, I can click up here and I've got a bunch of options of things I want to do. So for example, I can stop Ali's video. I can't restart it, but I can ask her to start it again. That's quite good. If you've got a thing where you've got everyone got their video turned off, but you want people to turn their video on, perfect. Ali's sticking out her tongue. I can also rename Ali. So at the moment you can see both me and Ali's profiles have got the same names. It's a bit annoying. So here I can call her Alejandra. And then we know who's different. So that's great. So as the host, you've got a few of these different options. I can ask Ali to unmute. I can't unmute her automatically. And then Ali can say some stuff. You'll notice that a green line goes around whoever's speaking. Zoom only really lets one person talk at a time. So when people aren't talking, it's good to mute them, just so that we don't have any background noise and it doesn't cut out what the person's saying. Okay, so there's a few other things we can do down here. So let's start with polls. We're probably not going to use them that much, but if you are, they are quite useful. So a poll, this thing pops up. We go add a question, and it pops us out here, and I can go, is this tutorial helpful? And I press answer, we'll do yes or no. Perfect. And then I press save down here. And then that should have popped up. Ali did that. And here we go. Here's our poll that's popped up in the session. So obviously we can add lots of different things in it. And I can click launch polling. Ali will then have the choice to answer it. We'll see what she says. Ah, she said yes. Okay, awesome. And so you get kind of some feedback in real time, tells you how long it's been going and that kind of thing. So it's a really useful tool if you want to use it during your sessions. Okay, so we'll cancel that. So that's one of the things. Second one that we're going to talk about here is record. So some sessions we might want to record what we're doing. If we are going to record, then we need to ask everyone who's part of it. So for example, here I'd say, hey, Alejandra, I want to record the session. Do you give your permission? We normally do our checks, so either thumbs up or wiggly hands. Ali's happy for me to record it. So I hit record, and I can either choose record on this computer or to the cloud. It's easier to record to the cloud because then other people can access it directly through the account on Zoom rather than you having to transfer the file. So if we hit record to the cloud, we'll hear a noise happen, and at our top left, we'll start seeing it saying recording. That's all that needs to happen. At the end of the meeting, you can either stop it. During it, you can pause it, and it tells you. We carry on playing it. Either stop it or just close the meeting, and it automatically goes uploaded to the cloud, and we can access it from there. So I'll stop that recording for now. There we go. So we'll stop that one. And yeah, it will even save that little bit to the cloud. So if you only want to record a little piece. Okay, and then the third thing, which is really important, that we're going to do is breakout rooms. So breakout rooms allow you to take this main call and split it into smaller spaces. So imagine you're running a physical session and you've got a big group, you introduce a task and you say we're going to split into smaller groups. That's when we want to use breakout rooms. Really useful for making it easier for people to talk. It's like hard to talk to 40 people, but if you split it into 10 breakout rooms of 4, it can be much easier. So to do that, we have to click on the breakout rooms. And it gives us this little panel, and we either click automatically or manually. This just depends on whether you've got a clear idea of who you want in each group. Then you might click manually. Otherwise, we can click automatically. We could say assign the participants to 2 breakout rooms, kind of thing. And then it says create rooms. And what you'll have here is you'll have a tab that shows you who's been assigned to those different rooms. And it doesn't assign the host. The host kind of doesn't count within this system, and you can jump into any of the breakout rooms. But once this is up, and it's like, oh look, Alejandra's assigned to breakout room 2. If I don't want her to be in breakout room 1, she's assigned to breakout room 1, I can click move to here, and I can move her to breakout room 2. And then I can move her back. Bang, super easy. If I need to, I can add another room. and I can assign people to it and all these different things. So here I can open all the rooms, and Alejandra will have something pop up on her screen that says, do you want to enter the room? Alejandra's going to say yes. And then, so now Ali's on her own in another room, and I'm stuck out here being the host. So what you can see is that we can't hear what's going on in that room. If you're recording the video as well, recording the call, it won't record what's happening in that room. So there's lots of useful things you can do, like have Google Docs where people can write notes so that those discussions are recorded, and things like that. But yeah, as the host, you're not going to know what's happening in the rooms. You don't have like a live feed going on. But if I need to, I can ask her to move into a different room. And then she'll move from breakout room to from 1 to 2 kind of thing. I can also broadcast a message. So if I want to say, hey, Ali, are you having fun? And that message will pop up on her screen. And imagine if there were 50 people, it would pop up on all of their screens. So it's a really good way of saying, for example, I'm now closing the rooms. I can broadcast that to everyone, and I can press close all the rooms. So when it does that, it gives a 60-second timer will pop up on their screen. And at any point, they can leave the session during those 60 seconds. They just press leave now. So for example, Ali can leave now, and it will bring her back out into the lobby here. But otherwise, it counts down, and then everyone gets brought back out. And that just allows people to kind of finish their discussion, know what's going on without instantly being popped out. So look, Ali's back now. Here she is. She obviously had a great time on her own. Hopefully you have lots of discussions come back, and it can be good to break into the smaller groups, have some discussion, come back, feed it back to the wider group. It's like a key thing that we do during our sessions. So for example, here we've got these 3 rooms. If you wanted to, if you were having a number of breakout rooms, down the bottom here on the left, you've got recreate. And this will replace all the existing rooms. And if you're randomizing where people are going, so people are changing each time, this is the best way to just hit recreate all rooms, and the people get put into different rooms, which is super useful. We can change things in here if we want to about, say, the countdown timer. We can reduce it if we want to just be able to close the rooms when we say like that. We can make it where people don't get asked and they just get thrown into the breakout rooms, but we like asking people. We can set time lengths and those kind of things. So there's loads of usability in there, and breakout rooms are a really key way of how we kind of navigate stuff and move people around. It's important to say that only the host has the chance to use the breakout rooms. You can set a co-host. So for example, I can come here and I can tell Ali that she's a co-host. Yes, but she can't use the breakout rooms, but there's a few other things that she can use. For example, I think she can now mute people, she can stop people's videos, I think she can rename people, but she can't do the breakout rooms. So whoever's organizing that will need to be the host to be able to do it. Hey, bit of a continuity break. This is me from the future because there was something I forgot to record. Ali's wanted to get back to join us, but she looks more tired now because it's the end of the day. So one of these things was sharing the screen. We skipped over it. Well, it won't feel like that now because I'm going to put it in the middle of the video. But anyway, sharing the screen. So it depends what you're using it for. But if you're just sharing your screen, all you have to do down here is click on the green one. It comes up with the first option, which is screen, hit share, and it'll instantly share anything on your screen to anyone else. And it will share everything that's on your screen, apart from, for example, these Zoom panels. They won't be able to see that. And then when we're here, we've got a bunch of different options. One of the interesting options that we have is annotate. So annotate allows us to draw on the screen. So say I was trying to share people with this, I could be like, look, there we go. Isn't that exciting? And I can rub it out just as easily. I can write things on the screen like, yo. I can see the screen. There we go. So it's there. Lots of different things you can do. And this annotate function is actually, so if I stop sharing, this annotate function is particularly useful if you want to use the whiteboard. Never really recommend people to write or draw things with a key, but if you've got something, you know, I can write Robin. Woohoo, perfect. Or I can rub that out and that kind of thing. And you know, it's basically just worth having a play here because you can change all the different stuff. There's, you know, it can show you where my mouse is, which is quite nice for different things. But it can be a good way of, like, if you're really needing to visualize something, of drawing a big circle, of putting names in it and that kind of thing. And other people can write on here as well, is one of the things to say. So Alejandra, for example, can click on annotate and can start drawing on the screen. So it's potential to run collaborative stuff. How can you do that? So you need to go to the bar and find annotate, click annotate. Or click options. Is there not one that says annotate?
It says view options, side by side, request, remote control, annotate. I cannot do annotate.
Oh, is it blacked out? Okay, yeah. Cool. Well, I'll skip that. So if we go back to the stop the share, so let's get rid of that. So those are the two main ones you might use. It also gives you options to just share particular windows, which means they'll only see those. So for example, if you only want them to see your Google Chrome or whatever you're sharing, and those kind of things. There's a few others to explore, but those are the main ones. And then the last thing, which is super important, is that we need to click on share computer sound and optimize screen sharing for video clip if we want to do a film screening or anything where we're showing a video clip. Basically, because if we don't click this one, the video looks crap, and if we don't click this one, they can't hear what we're doing. But once we've got those both clicked, again, all we do is hit share. We go and find our video clip. I don't know what I've got up here, but for example, we could watch a video clip, and we'd go from there. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So yeah. So if you're doing a film screening, you have to have both of these on, and otherwise you don't necessarily need them on. Cool. Yeah. So that was the kind of screen sharing bit. I'll stick it in the rest of the video, and hopefully it'll make sense. But yeah, super important. Film screening, you need to click share computer sound and optimize screen sharing. But for everything else, you don't need it. And yeah, we want to either share the screen or use the whiteboard if we want to do some drawing. Okay, sweet. And then there's just a few final little things that we've got here that it's important to go over. So one of them is like reactions. Sometimes when people have got their screens off, it can be nice to just like put a clap. It pops up in the corner and just says you're like, woohoo, that's cool. Or this one can be for agreement. And it's just a nice way of helping whoever's speaking. Otherwise, you can do do the hand signal jazz hands that we use in XR Youth anyway. If we scroll over here to have a look on the right hand side, there are a few things you can use to tell the host what's happening in the meeting and whether you need them. For example, I'm like, well, not in this sense, but you could say go faster, and then it will pop up that I've asked the host to go faster. I'm talking really fast already, so people will be more likely to say go slower, that kind of thing. If you're asking people a yes/no question, they can use this to just say yes or no, and you can get a nice quick visual representation. Really useful if you've got lots of people. Otherwise, they can do a few things like say, hey, I've gone for a tea break, or they're clapping, or I'll be back later. And these are just a nice way of kind of interacting with the host while it's happening. So they're more on the participant side, but as a host, you just need to keep your eyes open for those. And if everyone's asking you to go slower, just slow it down, go a little bit slower, help people know what's going on. That's perfect. And we'll clear all of those from this side as well. Okay, the final thing which I did right at the beginning, which I'll just remind you of again, is down here. This is enable the waiting room. We can turn it on or turn it off. And if it's off, people will just come straight in. If it's on, people have to wait. And then one of the final things that you might want to do at some point is lock the meeting. That just means, for example, in a film screening or in a meeting where you've said no one else can join after 7:15, for example, you've got 15 minutes to get in, and otherwise we'll lock the meeting. All you do is hit that, and then, like it says in the middle of the screen, no one else is able to join. Okay, so there's a few basic things that you might also want to do. So down here we've got the mute button, we've got the stop video. So those are just how we use it. Lots of other people do. We have security here, which again is a different way of putting the lock meeting enable waiting room, we can do it there. And you can also remove the participants here. So if, for example, Ali was really annoying, I could kick her out. We hope these things don't happen, but especially when we're using public kind of Zoom links to get lots of people in, you might have some people who are just coming to kind of troll and flame, and that's where you want to click security, get rid of them. Happy days. But we're hoping that's not going to happen. Then the final thing I'd show is just down here, we've got speaker view or gallery view. If I hit speaker view, then you have one big picture with a few other people above the top. But as a host, you're almost always going to want to be in gallery view, because that will show you everyone across the screen. And if you have 50 people, this is the easiest way to be able to see people's hands being raised or not. Okay, that's pretty much everything. This has been, I think, hopefully quite a comprehensive thing. I'm going to go back to Big Rob and finish the video. So that was it. Hopefully, those are like our 3 bits. So we've got how you create a meeting, how you go into the back space and do the settings, and then this final one, which was actually being in a meeting and seeing how everything was organized, and looking at the different settings that you'll have as a host. There's a few more things going on that you might want to get involved in or have a look at, and a bit more in depth. And obviously, this is just how to use Zoom. We've also got the how to do facilitation. And there's a lot of things you want to watch out for in terms of, making sure you're looking for people raising their hands, making sure you're noting all these different things. But we'll have some online facilitation trainings running over the next few weeks. And if you want to get involved in that, then that would be really cool. But hopefully for now, I'll round it up. It's been quite long, but Zoom's a really important thing to get right, because it's a big part of what we do when we're having these online sessions. So yeah, again, I was Robin. This was a kind of video tutorial from the XRY UK Trainings team, and we'll see you on Zoom.